Hi everyone, today we're going to go over some RxJS with LeetCode. Even though they don't support it natively, I made it work. I was looking at this place called LeetCode, and they had a place here called Concurrency. And concurrency is the problem that RxJS solves. If I saw something like this, I could solve it with RxJS. Here's a FizzBuzz, multi-threaded, interesting. There's one I looked at yesterday I wanted to take a look at today. I'm going to probably try that, and I'll try it with Node, because I can do RxJS in Node very easily. If there's somewhere else I could do it, I'd like to do it, but my text editor is a lot easier. For instance, this place here with these katas, I can't even hit the tab key to finish off like a variable name. It's much harder for me to type stuff. Let's worry about that later. Let's see if we can find, I think this is the one. It was looking at, yeah, it's saying you need to make sure that when the numbers are streamed in, you can print them as 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, blah, blah, blah. It's really confusing the way they write it because they say the length must be 2n. 2n means like 2 times the number that you've put in. And basically the 2 means for every number you put in, there's a 0 in front of it. That makes sense. Let's see if we can do this. They don't support JavaScript here for some reason. They got Java and Python and all this stuff. I'm going to look at the C# example and see if I can try to translate this to JavaScript and do the code myself. And I should have a Sublime Text open. Yep, just for this. What do we have with this problem? Well, obviously it isn't going to work. How do we change this to make it work? Okay, much better. Make it easier for people to see. Oops. I'm wondering how we can translate this. I don't want a class. Yeah, I can use a class, but I want to achieve this with RxJS without a class. If this is what we're starting with, and we want to use RxJS, I should have a project here that we can do this with, and we would just do the Node piece of it. That's my Webpack one to do any JavaScript front end, but maybe we could do here, we can call this project 0 even odd challenge. That'll be fine. Then we can just load them as necessary. I don't think there's anything else we need to change in this particular file. All we need to do now is write some code to do this. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And we want to create a file, or create a variable called that. And it's going to be an observable. And we're going to module.exports this observable. I wrote it wrong, but we'll get there. We're going to just create this and call it 0 even odd. This is exports. There we go. And now what we need to do is we need to figure out how we're going to do this. So I think we're going to do an of. Let's look at that example that we have. And before we even do this, cd to the RxJS challenges and yarn. And let's see if we can even get this to run. We'll just put null here. We should get null. In fact, we could just log something, make sure everything's working. We can do this. Tap. Console info, yo. Is it operators like this? Man, now I forgot something. Yeah, it is. Why is it erroring? Oh, duh. Node. Can't do that. I think we can go ahead and start it. If it's going to have to run this, no. Cool. This works. We know this code works. Then now we can go test it after we are done figuring out what the heck the problem is. It's saying you're given this code, which I really don't care about. I wanted to stream the code. The same instance of 0 even odd will be passed to 3 different threads. This is where we want to write our threads. We want to create the threads that will output the weird data. And we'll just log the output here so we know what the heck is going on. In fact, we just console info. I know a little bit more because I know how to create these threads from the get-go. But if you didn't know how to create these threads, somebody would have to have made a question with the threads in it, and then you could solve it with RxJS. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create thread ABC myself. And one outputs zeros. Is there like an interval that they output? Does it matter? Can I just do a random interval? I'm a little curious now. I'm probably going to do them. Here's the thing is you're going to get a memory problem if they're just outputting all the time, unless we're getting rid of prior values. Let's use interval for now, and we'll figure it out later. For interval, which should be yellow. Why is it not yellow? Oh, because I spelled it wrong. Interval. Much better. There we go. Now it's yellow. We are going to have 3 threads. Let's create these as separate observables. Let's make this legit. Thread A is an observable. Thread B. Do we want these in different files so it'll be easier to watch? We don't really care about this. Yeah, let's just create these in a separate file, and I'll import them. And that'll be easier. You can see them side by side. Thread B. And I know you probably can't read this. I just realized. Let's see if I can get rid of this side. You don't really need to see the code. You just need to see the question. I don't see another way to do this. We'll just make there. Now you should be able to see the question. Why don't I just copy paste this? Thread B. We just grab all these, and we module.exports, and we create an object, and we put them all there. because we're going to have to assemble these in our code. That's part of their question. We're just creating the stuff that creates the question. And what we're going to do here is we'll import them. I haven't named the file yet. Threads. I don't know how I want to do this. 0, even, odd threads. There. That way, at least they're associated. I don't know what I'm going to do in the long run. Probably each one is going to be its own folder. And then we're going to have to import all these threads here. That's weird. Tab. Oh, I see. And then we need to require them in. And they're from 0, even, odd threads. Cool. Now we have our threads. What are we going to do with them? We haven't made them yet, so we do need to make them. So over here, each one is going to be an interval. So we don't need that in our code. And then the interval is going to be, let's say, 500 here. They can all be 500, but we want them to fire at different intervals. That's part of the question, is they're supposed to come at different times. This could be 400. I don't want them too far off because I don't want to get into a memory issue. I'm going to be having this sit here for a while. Let's do that. That'll be more crazy. But then we have to make them have a value. What we're going to do is we're going to pipe. Let's see what we're going to do here. 0 only returns zeros. This only returns even numbers. We have to do a math random and get like an even number. And this only returns odd numbers. Oh, but then look at the numbers here. It's looking like you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know ways to do this. So for the thread A, it's only 0, so we're gonna map to 0. That way, that's done. Easy peasy. Now the hard part is going to be the thread B and thread C. All we're gonna do is this. It's gonna be really easy because interval will output numbers from 0 to. We don't want 0. We do not want 0. Output the numbers from 0 to infinity. I kept wanting to say infinity, but it didn't sound right to me. Now it does. Let's do one and we'll copy paste it. This is going to give us a value, and the value is going to be, we need to mod it and make sure if it's even or odd. And in this case, we care about 0, I think, because thread B is evens. See, that looks right to me. And this one is 1, but I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do this. I don't really like putting magic numbers like this, even the 2. We could create a custom operator. I'm not going to, but I'm just curious. And that way, like, the thing is, this interval will be like 1200 if we do that, because every other number is going to be going through, so it won't actually be what we expect. That might be fine. We can see the output over time, slower, and make sure everything's happening the way we want. I'm going to change these, though. If this is 500, this would end up, maybe 450, and that one 400 is fine. And the reason for that is just so these fire more quickly, because otherwise they're essentially double. This is 900 now, that's 800. I think that's all we need here. That will always be 0. That will always be, something going to infinity. It'll match this. I don't know if we need to match this. That's the question. But notice the output here. Yeah, they do care. They do care about the output. And they want to make sure for every input that your output is 2 times the size of it. With 0 as the first number, and then a number, and then 0 again. It's really weird that this is like constantly outputting 0. This is something that would never happen in real life. Like, maybe this would output some other number at some point. I don't understand why this is always 0. And like I said, these ones, we don't want 0. We absolutely do not want 0 to come through here. I need to do one more thing. If value is not equal to 0, this is the same as we just did in the last puzzle. And value, blah, blah. That would solve that problem. That sucks. Should I have done it here? No. That's weird. We've got these set up, these threads, and let's go ahead and run the application. It is running. I want to know what's coming out of those threads. We have to combine these threads somehow. For now, let's use merge, just because that will give us the output of every single thread. And then we can worry about, in our code, figuring out how to manage the fact that there are 3 threads coming in after we figure out that it's actually working like we expect. I almost felt like I was done. Let's stop it. I wanted to stop at some point. Can I, tell these to take a certain amount? Yeah, I only want to take, let's say, 10 each. That's too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. No, that's for all of them. Let's 7 each. And I'll define take. And there's one other thing we need to do. These intervals, this 0 has to happen more frequently or something, or less frequently or more frequently. Because right now it looks perfect until you get to 6. I want it to look like messed up at 1 or 2 so I can solve it even quicker. In fact, then we can change this to 4 and we'd be fine. It's these intervals being too close and too similar. That's the problem here. What if we made this 200 and we made this 220 or define 110, and this is 200. That will also get us closer. I want it messed up. I want it to be weird. I don't want this to be like a half of that either. What about 150? There, 150. Let's try that. And these should end after a certain amount of time. Perfect. Our threads are doing what I expect. We can remove the take 4 and raise it in the future. That way we can verify everything's working correctly. Let's see. Merge combines all the threads and gives us all the outputs. What we want is, I think, combine latest. So it's funny that they're talking about concurrency here, and they're talking about, hey, how would you solve this with this class? And all this. I would not solve it with this class. I would use RxJS. Like, why would I do this when there's already code that, perfectly good code that does this for you? What is this code doing? Let's take a look real quick. Fine. Does that work? You get a number, 0, even, odd. Do they want you to output these at separate times? Like, did I already write the code? Let's find out one more time. Make sure. Each of these threads is given a print number. No, they're calling these methods on our class. So they're like somewhere else. They're newing up the class. I can't tell. No, I can't tell if these are on the prototype or not. If this was JavaScript. If these are on the prototype. I'm trying to think. How would you do this? Are they calling a method after newing up our class? Yeah, that would make sense. Because we have to write in here something with n. We have to do something with this .n. I'm pretty sure. If we were writing C#. Yeah, each one of these is given a print number method. Man, I don't know how you would do it, except for you'd have to check the current number of n, like in here, and or store them in an array, and then like when another one comes in, you just output it. I don't know how you would do it normally. But with RxJS, it's going to be super simple. I just wonder what's the hard part about this? What would normally be tricky for people? They're fired asynchronously. Yes, we're having that problem here. One of them calls 0, the other calls even, the last one calls odd. That is the correct output. Thank you for telling me something I knew. Man. We can also write a test for this. I just don't want to deal with it right now. I mean, we can visually see here that the test is going to be correct. I'm pretty sure it's combine latest. Like, I'm pretty sure we just put combine latest here as problem solved. But we need to order them, and that's what's really important to me. I want to figure out how to order these. Because thread A has to fire twice for these two other ones to be valid. What I would do is probably like this. And I would zip it, and it'd be problem solved. And you just keep outputting this pattern. Watch, I'll show you. I'll show you. I think I want to, yeah, I said I want to zip it. I don't know if zip's going to be what I want. I swapped the threads. Either that or it's wrong. This is even. Yeah. There's a bug in Sublime Text with transpose. Is it going to fix my... Come on. Okay, I fixed it. No, I had it. I had it. Yeah, see here? Now all I need to do is combine them. You give this a number. This is not a function, but if you did give it a number, it would want to execute based on some number that you gave it, and then it would combine all these values. Like, I can combine the values easy, but see here, we already have all the values that we want. That's a cheat way of doing it, because we're getting thread A twice. I don't want to get thread A, because I'm trying to appeal to like what the question is going on over here. If I don't have thread A twice, how can I ensure that thread A gets put in, and then thread B gets put in, and then thread C gets put in? So what I would do here is I would go to RxJS dev, and I would hope there is something that looks even a semblance of correct for this. I know combine latest is definitely something similar to what we want. Merge obviously gave us every value. Merge will give us all the values, and then we can assemble them and try to do something with them with a reduce or a scan operation. But we'd start needing to store, like I was saying before in here, we would start needing to store all the previous values of n until something has come in. We don't really know. They're not explaining here how you're supposed to do this. If they did, I could solve this a lot better, because I just solved it, right, by cheating. They're calling a function a certain number of times. I could create the 0 function and then basically duplicate the output when I want. I don't know. They're wanting, when this function gets called, it calls print number. I think they've given us this code. Let's look again at their code, as if it's C# or C++ technically, because I don't have C# syntax highlighting. Print number x outputs the x, where x is an integer. Yeah, they're wanting you to call here print number in this other code, and you'd print like this.n, right? They should be giving you they should be giving you something. Is it this? Is it action? What is it? Action. Let's look at the other languages. Maybe there's something out here I understand. Function void int. Void is is it the return value? That's the return value. It's an, oh, this is a function. Where's the comma? Like right here. Where's this coming from? How do you read these other languages? In this other language, it's only giving you the print number function. I think I see what's happening here. It's saying when 0 is called, your function should output 0. But these are all being called asynchronously. Does this seem simple to you guys? They're just going to call our functions. Are they telling me here that they're going to call them out of order? There are 3 threads being fired asynchronously. One of them calls this That is the correct output, which is also strange because you have to get the 0 in the middle there. I think that's the hard part about this. I wish I knew what it was asking. The same instance of 0, even, odd will be passed to 3 threads. Aha. No, it's the same instance. That's what we're doing here. We're getting 3 threads. Ours is a little like opposite. We're getting 3 threads and we're like taking all the values and we're putting them down here. That sounds like what it is. And they're just going to call the print function. Let's try something. Let's just put some code in here. C#. I think this is the one I can write myself. Do I need to know what's called? Do I need to do something like this? So I know that, and I think you need semicolons in C#. Man, I wish this problem was a lot easier when I first started it. Because we did most of the cool stuff here, and we did cheat it. We know how to cheat it. Yeah, so their thread is calling it, and we have to output the 0 or something based on which one it is. They're essentially this interval, and then we have to do this work. I swapped the ordering here. That might change a lot of things if we're going to be doing the work ourselves based on which thread fires. All right, we're going to have to change this code. I want to see what happens. No, I don't want to submit it. I want to run it. Oh, seriously, you need an account? Now I can't verify. Oh no. Let's try it based on the fact that their threads are calling our functions and our functions are going to execute. Or is it something different? Yes, that's exactly what's happening. We have a function called 0 and it's being executed based on like when thread A runs or B runs or something. Also, these are observables. I don't know what I was thinking. There. Let's fix that. All of you guys need to have a $sign. Now I got something. Yeah, so they're all observables, and then basically they're going to fire at random intervals, and we are going to do something based on what they're doing. I still don't know how we're going to assemble them, because like the way I would assemble these is the way I just did it. I would literally be like, here, this goes here, and then based on what's coming in, I would zip them, and then problem solved. But zip would basically say, wait till all the values have come in. Once all the values come in, output that, what you stored. I definitely think that's the solution. I think we already solved it. It's even more clear to me that this is how you're supposed to solve it because of the code I just read over here. So I'm gonna kind of format this differently just to make it clear what's going on. Something like this. Because there are 3 different threads now that we're zipping together. And now that means we're gonna have to take these. And I need the filter too. Actually, the only thing left in this file is the interval. We're not done yet though. We still need to output it as a string like this. Maybe this is gonna have some more complexity for us in RxJS. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to copy this here for these 2. So each one of these that we originally had in this file, it's funny because I wrote the threads and I was like, this is how these threads execute. I wrote the functionality when I was writing the threads and showing how they execute. I already did it. I guess the problem is solved. And the hard part now is figuring out how to assemble the data. Now that we have it in the correct format, we basically need to do a string join and then output that as a big string combined. And so I need to know, this take 4 here cannot be on all of them, but the good part is basically they said that the response needs to be 2n. So right now, like I said before, this does not execute a function. This needs to be a function, and then this would mean to be like create 0 odd observable, like that. And I don't know if we want a $sign when we're creating a 0 odd observable. I usually reserve that just for the observable itself. Yeah, it takes 3 threads, and then we need to give it the number down there. Well, the problem here is that we have our run tasks, and it's expecting to get an observable when you call it. We would need to pass a number here, which is fine. And also the function, this name is wrong. The task name can be fine, but this needs to be created. And this is where we'll pass in our number. So we'll start with 2, which is what's in there. And we don't need the take there, we just need the take here. We basically take the number here. Let's call this like, do we want to call it iterations? It's not really iterations, it's, I don't know. But this is definitely how you would solve it. I really wonder how you would solve this with C#. Now I'm really curious. I feel like this is a problem I have never thought about because I just use RxJS and it makes it very clear and very simple. Yeah, interesting. We're going to pass 2 here for now. And at the same time, that's our interval. I wish these could be random. The only way I know how to do this randomly is to basically, we'd have a timer and we would pass a random number like this times 10, I think. And then you'd like math.ceil, something like this. It's something like this. You would do this on a timer and keep having it to go. But you have to call this timer over and over again. And you would have to do that on a fixed interval to make this fire. But then you'd have to, you don't want to have too many. So you basically have to have this. This would be a perfect situation for a generator. Once this timer fires, you want the interval to happen again. And you could easily do that with a subject. I feel like we're getting in the weeds now of something that's completely unrelated to me trying to solve this problem. You'd have a subject, and it doesn't have to be called subject. It could be thread a timer. Man, I don't know. This would technically be thread a timer, but let's do it like this. And when you pipe off of this, at some point in the pipeline, you'd have a tap. And when you tap into the thing, you'd know that at this point in time, if it reaches this tap, therefore the timer has fired. And so that way we don't have to have a fixed interval. We can fire another timer. Let's switch this up a bit real quick. Concat map. We don't even need concat map. Technically, it can be a merge map. It can be any map at this point. We're going to return the value of this observable using concat map. So instead of map, which returns the observable itself, that would return this observable. I actually want the value of it, which is going to be a 0. It doesn't really matter. Anytime we hit this tap, I want to fire this to get the next value. And actually, I can pass the value into the chain like that. And then, this needs to be thread a timer like that. And that will cause it to be random every time. The interval will be completely random based on this math here that I made up off the top of my head. The one problem with this is that I want to make sure, well, there's a problem. The one problem with this is that I want to make sure that this gets fired initially, and the only way to do that right now is to call it .next. I know. Duh. You just here start with 0. Problem solved. There. Now we have something that fires when this observable gets subscribed to outside. So we can actually subscribe to this observable out here. This pipeline, no, we have to subscribe to this pipeline, I thought. Do we need to do a .subscribe here? No, because how do you get this value? I want this value somewhere else. That's thread A. Yeah, I guess when this is subscribed to, this gets subscribed to. So it should work. Basically, when this gets subscribed to, this whole pipeline here, everything, then the start with executes, all of them actually. You can have multiple through here. They all execute immediately. That will fire a 0, which will trigger this tap. And the tap will set off the timer and blah, blah, blah. Now, in the other case with interval, the one benefit is it's counting 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. We would have to have a scan here to get the same behavior. And the scan would basically have to have an accumulator and a value and an initial value, which is going to be 0. And it's going to take the accumulator plus the value, just like we did in the last thing we were working on with the functional code. That's what this will do. It takes the accumulator plus the value, and just now it's the same as interval at this point, except for it's a random time that you're starting with. All right, so let's forget about all that for now. Let's just worry about the interval. I'm going to get rid of this code. Somebody really wants it. And we're just going to have these 3 random intervals that are fixed at the moment. I want them not to be fixed because I want to test like crazier situations. But it's fine. I can just change the numbers. In fact, can I generate these numbers? So every time we rerun the app, it's different? I'd like that a lot. But I want them in a range. Nah, let's just do it by hand. We have these. And like I said before, I'm cheating on thread A. I wonder if there's another way to do this. Like, how about this? I get an object of all the threads. I'll do this. Of all the threads. And then from there, I can subscribe to them individually with a zip. And I can already have the pipes on them. I get all the threads. So let's do this. I like this better. So I got all the threads. And then I'm going to map on all the threads. And I'm going to create new observables that have the same names, but are the modified versions of them. This is because they don't have to have the same names. But basically, I want to create a new thread here that is the 0 thread. And this is like their functions that they had. Where's their code example? Even and odd. I want an even thread, and I want an odd thread. I don't like the ordering of these. I also like them alphabetized, but I don't like the ordering of these because, yeah, it's fine. Because normally 0 odd, 0 even, but that's fine. This is not gonna be a big deal. And then we're gonna do this. We'll just copy this out and put it here. Even one, yep, that's even. No, I'm doing it incorrect. There we go. And I want this one, and we can get rid of all this code now. We can't get rid of it. We're gonna use it in the next second here. We're gonna have to call zip though. We're going to, from this point, we have all of our observables. I need a map up here, and I also need a switch map. And I wonder if I want switch map. Yeah, for this, it's fine. It's not gonna hurt anything. Switch map. We have our 3 observables, and now they're named differently, and it's gonna be even better to do this work. So we've got even, odd, and whatever. I want to copy like that. And in our zip, which we are returning now from here, it's going to be cleaner code. It's 0 comes first, and then we need an even number. No, we need an odd number, and then we need the next even number, and before that we need a 0. There. Yeah, that looks right. And then take number. That is the number of times, number of iterations. It's not the number of iterations. It's the number of these that we get back. I don't want take number then, actually. Because we're getting even and odd at the same time. Technically, what we want is like this, and then we want this for the other one. Well, we're not doing that. We're going to end up getting extra numbers. This code's going to have to be messy like that, I guess. I'm going to have to cut off some of the numbers that we did get because they're not part of the final numbers. That's fine. It'd be the number divided by 4. So let's say the number, they want 8 iterations. If they want 8 iterations divided by 4, that's 2. That will get us 8 numbers. If they want 6 numbers, 6 divided by 4 is not 2. It's 1.5. So we need to math seal this number. And that'll get us what we want. Yeah. And I'm going to call this iterations. No, this is output values. Yeah, this is output values. There we go. Let's make it a little bit more readable. This will get output values, and I don't really want to default. I want it to error if somebody puts in something weird. Is there anything wrong with the code? Yes. It does. We don't have of. Output value. This is getting good. This is getting really good. And now we have to assemble them. And so when we assemble them, we could use a to array because now we have a take that will end it. And then now we get an array of arrays, and we can flatten them. I wonder what the best way of doing this is. They call it like flat map in the old RxJS. Now they have merge map, and I think that's what we're going to want to use. But we technically don't want merge map because we can use concat map. It's the same thing at this point. I do want them in order, and I want to make sure the order is kept. In case for some reason they happen out of order, I would want concat map. And so this is why I was saying if we wanted to switch map earlier, I'm going to change this to concat map as well. And the only reason I'm going to change this to concat map is, actually I do want concat map here. I don't want switch map. I didn't want to have to import the same, like 2 different things. Especially if we're like caring about the bundle size or something like that. So to array, that'll get us an array of arrays of these output values. Array of output values. It's not really, it's an array of output values. Is there like some way we can write this better? It's an array of output values, and we need to assemble them together. This is output values. It is output values. It's just not the one that they're sending in. Oh, okay. I did this wrong. Number of output values. That's correct. We'll need to map this, and we'll basically want to do this. We don't need this then. This can be concat all. Concat all is essentially doing dot flat with an array. From our perspective in this code, that's exactly what that's doing. We still need concat map. And then what else? Let's see what this logs. I want to see what we've got right now. I want to make sure the code's executing like we expect. Are you looking for map 2? Argument is not a function. That's the problem. I can't tell what's going on. Oh, we need a catch error. How about that? Otherwise, I'm lost. How do I want to do this? We really want to end the process if we're done. If we get an error here, it's not working like we expect. And I don't know if we want to just log the error or if we want to do something different. I want this. It really sucks having an error in the code when I thought everything's good. Ooh. It didn't hit this? Hang on. Interesting. I feel like it's erroring. Oh, it's saying, did you mean map 2? Which means we do have a map 2 right here. It's almost like it thinks that we're calling map and passing it a value. Argument is not a function. But where? Argument is not a function. Map operation. Line This isn't their stuff, but it's a map call. One of our maps is wrong. Oh. Oh. I see. There we go. It's tabbed wrong, but there we go. We do have the array we're looking for. It is stopping at the correct point in time. And it did concatenate them all. There's only one loop right now, so we'll just work with that. I'm pretty sure it's going to have two. It should actually have one array of all the values, and so we just do a dot join. At this point, we have an array of all the values, and we take the values dot join, and that's it. Yep, we're done. Problem solved. Line text was better about when I hit enter. Don't put the parenthesis over here. I want it like right there. Yeah, there are our numbers. So that's working, and if we do this, we should get not correct. Not correct. To array. Zip gives us an array. To array will array all the arrays. Concat all. Executes them separately, which is what we had right before. This is literally doing nothing. Values.join is not a function. Obviously it's not. I'm pretty sure concat all is going to send them out separately. I don't want them sent out separately. Oh, we want the to array here. I don't want that log though. Yeah, we're done. See, we got it. No, we are not done. First thing, if, like I was saying before, we're getting 4 values at a time. If the number of output values is not equal, we need to remove some. And the output values needs to be 2n. So we got that much knowledge. Also, this is missing 0.5. That makes me wonder, where did 0.5 go? If we log at this point in time, we should get all the way to 4. What's this? Number of output values is 5. 5 divided by 4 is 1.25. We seal it, and it's 2. So you take 2. Oh. Huh. Oh, it's times 2 divided by 4, which is times 0.5. I want to be more clear here. We want this many output values. And then we want to divide by 4 because we're getting 4 values in. Like, somehow I have to define this somewhere else, that it's obvious what this is doing, because nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to look at this take and be like, oh, that's exactly what you're doing there. It's not clear. And maybe we can even be smarter about it. I'm trying to think. No, we'd have to do it after the zip, because that's when we get our values in. If we did the zip and did a concat all, oh, this is where we want it. Because this gives us each value individually. We don't have to worry about the array. This is what I want. Then we don't have to do the times 2. We just need the times 2, actually. It's the number of output values times 2, which is what the instruction said. It says you want 2n. Okay, now we got the right numbers, and it outputs correctly. Hey, that's it. We're done. We did it. Print 0, even odd. Let's see, it's almost 10 o'clock. Man, print 0, even odd. That is what it did, and we got the output. Just like they expected. And now we don't have to worry about like stripping numbers anymore, because where we put our take was right under the concat all, instead of after the zip, which gives us 4 numbers at a time. The take is going to strip the numbers for us. We don't even have to do that weird math. Is there a way to do this? I bet you there's a way to do this join here. I don't know. Because concat all in the to array. To array will make an array of stuff. What if we don't want an array? What if we want a string? Like, is it like a toString? I don't think so. No. There's that. Does it give it like a second value? If it takes a second value, I'd rather do a map. It says a function here. Oh, operator function. That's not it. It takes a t and returns a t of an array. T is like a generic. I don't really get how any of this works, but basically it takes something that could be anything and then returns an array of anything, which is, yeah, exactly what I would expect to have happen. I don't think you can pass values into to array. I wonder how you can do this join here. I swear there's got to be a way for that. But so there's like a to array that converts to an array. We could do a to string, and this would be the to string. It would literally just be this. I don't know if there's a better way to do it, but this would be the to string. It would take all the values, make an array out of them, and join them. Yeah, this is what you would do in your code. This is to string. I guess that's it. That is the solution. Did I kill something? Yeah. Great. I'm very happy with this output here. The earlier code wasn't so bad either. Could probably use some work. Why is this not? There we go. Actually, the earlier code was probably fine too. Like I said before, what could have used work is how we divide it up into different functions. This is long. There's a lot going on here. And I don't know what's going on at necessarily each step of the way. And like I talked about with the take, we fixed this. So it's more obvious. But it's only obvious if you know the question ahead of time. If you don't know the question, this isn't obvious. And I think the reason none of this is obvious is because the question is very abstract. This question that we had, print 0 even odd right here. This is something you'll never get in real life. I think there's probably similar situations that you'll get where you get 3 threads and you got to do something on it, but I feel like we're cheating. This is clearly cheating right here. But I think you'd have to do this in your code too. You have to record the value of n into an array, and based on what the value is, you'd have to make sure it appeals to the output. You'd have to have a stream of values. Let's think of some ways you could do this. If you're doing this in C# or with a class that's calling your functions that are all newed up and is passing the instance around to different threads. If something's calling 0 and then something calling even, something's calling odd, that is our threads here. But let's say we're trying to assemble them with normal code. We'd have to store a big array, and we'd have to start sorting the array. And once we achieve 2n, then that's when we'll do the execution to sort and put the array together. So that's how you would do it in that case. Now, I don't think that's how it normally work though, because you'll have memory issues, but you'll also possibly have memory issues with the zip here too. I don't really know how you would do it with this other code. Obviously I can solve this problem, but I don't know how it would work in real life. And that's the real question I would have, is like, how do you apply this to reality? This is code. I've written similar code to this, never like this crazy, where you're having to do this all over the place, but it works. This does do what they expected us to do. Yeah. And actually, these are just our function names here. There they are, and we're assembling them here. And then, yeah, I can't think of another way to do this right now off the top of my head. If you can think of another way, that'd be good to hear. But otherwise, that's it. I think that's good to go. Something we could do is get these intervals to be not... I was saying it before. I want the intervals to be like crazy. I want them to be all different. What if this is 1, this is 2, this is 3? What would happen? Still get the right answer. What if this is 3, this is 2, and this is 1? Obviously, I could write unit tests for this. I just don't want to. Yeah. This will work with any values. The real question is, like, how do we, if we randomize it? I know it would still work if we randomize it, but how much of a memory leak could we get into? What's your code doing? Oh, hi. Kim hates video games. Definitely the right channel to be on. My code is, so I looked at this problem here. It says print 0 even odd. And it's saying that there's supposed to be 3 separate execution threads that call this function 0, even, and odd that are on a class that we've defined. And then we have to somehow assemble these values and then execute. We have to execute it, and it'll be like 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, whatever to the max. These are the 2 examples they give you. If you pass in 2, you'll get 4 values, and this is the ordering. And if you pass in 5, you'll get 10 values, and this is the ordering. And so what I did is I created threads just like this. These are just fake. All they do is they output from 0 to infinity. And so I can put whatever time I want in here, and then I wrote code here, starting from this function, to take a number of output values, which is, in this case, it'd be 5 or 2. And then based on that, based on listening to these threads, I'm like creating this output. And I'm doing it differently than you would have done it if you were doing it with a class. So this is what's like called a functional pipeline with something called RxJS. And this is a way of doing reactive streams. So basically you can take data over time. And so each thread you can get that data. What I'm doing here, like this first step here, is I'm taking the 3 threads and I'm converting them to 3 other threads. I know that in this question here, it says thread A calls the 0 function. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make thread A always return 0. That's now a new observable called 0. Yeah, down here, I'm not getting them all at once. They're still coming at different times. These threads will fire off at different times. But what I'm doing down here is the zip function will assemble them. What it does is zip set, it takes each argument is a separate observable. So it could be a separate stream of data. And what I'm saying is, with the way zip works, is it says every time each one fires, wait till all of them have fired once, and then output that as an array. I would get back an array of 0, the first odd number, 0, and then the first even number. And that's how it would work. And there could be a queue going on. Zip can have memory leaks, where you could get a big queue of them. Like, for instance, let's say the odd one is firing more often than all the other ones. Then you would get a big array stored in memory somewhere that Zip is using to figure out, I need to like hold on to this value until the 0 and the odds have fired off. You don't want to have that, but you can get into a situation with a memory leak. So it's waiting until it has enough to make the array, and then it prints that out. Correct. Yes. Yes. And it stores all the other values. Odd could be 1, 3, 5. And 0 would obviously be 0. And we could potentially have no value right now for even. And until, let's do this. I'll make these bigger, and I will output this array each time. And that will make it obvious to you what's going on. I'll put my command line back up. I wonder if you can read this, the command line. The numbers will output like this. and I can attach a timestamp to the numbers. We'll do that. And I'll make this interval, let's say 2 seconds, and this will be 3 seconds, and this will be 1 second. I think that's actually going to make it too easy. That's 4,000. That's 4 seconds. And then we will output here. Do we want to output? We want to output here. We know when these values are coming, and then we'll output again when all of them are done. This will make it really obvious what's going on. I think you get it, but let's do it anyway. This is the, and tap does not mutate the stream. Tap basically says, I'm tapping into the stream like a wiretap, and I'm listening until, I'm going to listen until those values have come in, and if a value comes in, I can do something with it. If anything passes through the stream here, if something goes from concat map to concat all, tap will hear it, and then we'll be able to do something with it. It doesn't have to console log. It's for any kind of side effect. This is the tap value. I want to call it value. I'll just do that. I'll just log it like this. I don't need it to be pretty. And then here, we're going to log out every time one of these fires. Do we want that, or do we want... Let's do that for now. I'm converting them here. This is essentially what it would be doing, where it calls my 0 function, it calls my odd function, it calls my even function. We'll log every time that happens. This is the... I want to know which one's firing when, and I'm not subscribed to them. That's important to know. This zip is subscribing to all of them. We are not subscribed to them at this point in time. Here it is. I can just do a tap here. For each one, I can do a tap. It'll output the value, and then I want to console info the value. But I want to know which thread it is. I want to know which one it is. This is, the top one will be thread A. No, they're out of order right now. This is thread A, this is thread C, and this is thread B. And that way you'll know which one is doing which value. Here we go. That happened really fast. I expected this to take longer. This should have taken way longer, actually. But you can see what's going on here. Thread A is putting 0 a bunch. Hang on, I didn't save this file. Oh, there we go, there we go. Here we're waiting. We have to wait up to 4 seconds probably. No, we have to wait 2 seconds for the first one. Did I do this right? As you can see here, we got 3, but it doesn't matter. We needed 2, right? Until 2 came in, until thread B fired essentially the first time. Wait, I'll wait for this to finish. The output here, I hope you can see it. The output here is thread A comes in twice, thread C comes in once, thread A comes in twice again, thread C comes in once, and then finally we get thread B. Once we get thread B to fire, then like zip is listening to these 3 values. Once thread B fires and we get a 2, then we get the output. These aren't thread A and B, C though. This is technically, at this point, it's even, odd, and 0. I'm not writing it here. I should have done that. Yeah, I can change that real quick. It's not a big deal. That'll make it more obvious what's going on. Here we go. Thread 0 fired twice. I don't know why. Let's see, thread 0 should be set to 4,000. I don't know what's going on there. This is firing off more than it should, but it doesn't matter because we're getting the numbers we expect. We're getting odd fired twice, 0 fired 4 times, and until even has fired, do we not get this output. And then it happens again here. We get 5, we get 4. This happened quicker. We got 4. That was what we needed to do this. Basically, each one needs to fire once. Yeah, there's our output value. At this point in time that we have our output value, we had a 9 in memory, we had 7 and a 9 in memory, and a bunch of zeros. There's a bunch of zeros queued up. Yeah, if I was a little bit more advanced, I think I could figure out how to write this myself, where we don't queue up the zeros, and we just fire them off. There's something called combine latest, and that basically gets you it waits for all of them to fire once, and then after that you get the updated value for each one every time. But that won't work for our case, because they have to be in a certain order each time. Because of this ordering, I can't just have it do that, so I had to use zip. And I don't like the memory problem with zip, but in this case, this is just like a simple little test. That's how we're going to get the output value. I remember this video. I definitely remember doing this code and converting it to RxJS and saying, you know what? LeetCode doesn't support what I want, but I'm going to make it support what I want. I hope you had a good time watching, and have a nice day.